All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Triaxle podcast. I'm here today with Anthony Parrilli out of where in Illinois?
Naperville, Illinois.
Naperville, Illinois, which you said is about 45 minutes west of Chicago?
Yep.
Awesome. Well, glad to have you on, Anthony. I met Anthony at a networking event in New Jersey last year. This kid is hungry. He's a very motivated young man, and he actually drove from Chicago to New Jersey to this networking event, an entrepreneurial event, and he made a lot of contacts, and it seemed to be worthwhile for him. So that's where I met him. Definitely a very humble yet very motivated young man. So, hey, man, glad to have you on the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing me on. I appreciate being here.
Yes, sir. So what's your current business, and how did you get to where you're at now?
So my current business is one of two things. So I have a small engine repair company. We're mobile. I have a custom built out trailer, so I'll go right to your house. I'll fix your lawnmower, your snowblower, or your lawn tractor right on site, right in your driveway basically. And if it needs parts or that sort of thing, I got them on my truck. Keep a wide variety of stuff. We mainly only specialize in these three pieces of equipment though, because I notice if you try and do everything, the parts you have on hand are just, you got 1,000 then.
You need a whole warehouse to have everything on hand.
Yeah. And then the second part of the business is a small engine repair marketing business. That's a more recent business, hasn't been established as long, but I'm really been trying to pound the pavement on that one recently, as the small engine repair company is a little cyclical. For example, the bread and butter of my service are tune-ups. And a lot of people who are going to do, an oil change, a spark plug change, these sorts of things, they're more proactive. So they'll get it done before Christmas, basically. So the majority of the tune-ups happen before Christmas. After Christmas, you then transition into the repair space, which is once it starts snowing, the people's machines who go down, you then go there, you fix their machines. You're not really doing tune-ups then. And then once the snow stops, the repairs also stop. So after you get through all the repairs, you're left with about somewhere between 2 and 4 weeks of kind of a break, you could say, before you get slammed again with lawnmowers. And that slow month is February. Right now, we're not starting any lawnmowers until about the first week of March. So I got about another week of somewhat relaxation that I've just been pounding the small engine repair marketing business on.
So what exactly are you doing with the small engine repair marketing business? What's that model?
So I'm essentially taking companies who understand the value of having a website, but don't understand that they need to have a Google My Business, they need to get reviews, they need to have a Yelp page, their website needs to be optimized with HTML and these sorts of things. So my target market really are smaller companies that do the same exact service I do, and then just showing them the steps I implemented to make my business more successful.
Gotcha. So you've had some success yourself doing these things, and now you're offering that as a service to other guys that have the same model as you.
Correct.
Neat. Good deal.
Yeah.
It's nice to have some diversification and not have all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, and it's a different business model. It's more of a corporation style business where my engine repair company is more of a job for myself, right? I'm more of a solo entrepreneur there, where I'm trying to now transition and build something that's more hands off. If that makes sense.
Cool. Yeah, no, it does for sure. So you're I don't even know your age, but you're a young man. How did you work yourself into having your own small engine repair business at such a young age?
Yeah, so I always kind of have had my own business, mainly in the landscape space, from back in 7th grade. Really, that's when I started. Yeah, I had like 10 lawns back then, probably 5th grade, 7th grade.
Your parents drive you with the lawnmower to do them, or did you walk up and down the street?
So originally I started with my dad's mower. It was a Honda. It was a nice mower, and I would beat it. He never knew, but I would beat the crap out of it.
That's what kids are for. Beat the shit out of your parents' stuff.
So then my grandpa gets me a lawnmower for my birthday, and that was like awesome. He shows up one day, totally unexpected, with this lawnmower because he heard that I started cutting some grasses, and he gives me this old Toro, and I ran that for a long time. I just it was through word of mouth, and then I started with flyers. They just said I think they just said Anthony's Lawn Mowing Service. My buddies, I passed one out to their house, believe it or not. They kept it. I never knew that they kept it, and they had it for years. They actually put it in a picture frame, and it was like a joke basically. And then I go over to his house. We weren't that close, but we were basically like neighbors. I go over to his house years later, and my buddy's like, "Hey, Anthony, look at this," and it's one of my flyers from when we were kids.
From years earlier.
From years earlier, it's just hilarious that I saw it.
That's cool.
So really, I just had this landscape company. I had 10 lawns. I didn't even know that that was quite a bit at the time, and for years, I regretted giving them up because once I got into high school. I had stopped for maybe a year. I got into Boy Scouts and everything, and I was traveling a lot. And then got back into it with my buddy. We picked up a 4-acre lot from a residential client, and we were cutting this thing with a push lawnmower and a 30-inch, a real small 30-inch a residential rider.
4 acres is a decent amount of grass to cut with small equipment. Yeah.
Yeah, with a push lawnmower. And this is where my dad's Honda really came in handy because there was this part of the property that would get really swampy. So, we were 16. We said, fuck it. It's swampy. Let's just not cut it. Yeah. So we let it go for a month probably because then at that point we're oh man, this thing's really, really tall. We can't cut this. Well, the Honda wouldn't handle it anymore. So we just left it. I ended up going on a Boy Scout trip for 2 weeks to New Mexico. I summit a peak in New Mexico, finally get cell signal. First time the whole trip. And the first message I get that comes through is this voicemail from this guy. Hey, where are you guys? Why haven't you cut the property? I'm getting fined from the city. They're saying there's a swamp on the property. Oh. The guy was so mad. I'm like, man, I'm in New Mexico. You gotta call you gotta figure it out.
Yeah.
Because he only wanted us to cut the property every 2 weeks. And that was the other thing, was that we were cutting this thing and it was 6-7 inches tall probably at least. Oh man, we were not the right people for the job. And
and you found out quick, huh?
Oh, and there was these birds that lived in the field, in holes or whatever, and my buddy would be cutting the grass and they'd fly up and they'd be attacking him.
But you were trying, man. You were trying. What, yeah. How old were you then? 15, 16 years old?
Yeah, we were 16.
Okay.
One day we were cutting the swampy section with the rider, and we got it stuck. And he had a Jeep. So we had a Jeep with a little 12-foot tilt deck, and that was our setup. So we unhooked the trailer. We went out with the Jeep to try and get the mower unstuck, and he had this thing buried to the frame. Well, while he's driving the Jeep out there, okay, so there's a private school, and then next to the private school is the field we cut. All these kids are on recess, and they're watching us, and he's almost got the Jeep stuck now in the field. His tires are spinning, almost like that video you posted the other day where you almost got stuck.
Yeah.
It looked just like that. So we didn't even have the right equipment. So we tied some ratchet straps together, and we were using these ratchet straps to try and pull this thing out of the mud. And then the Jeep was sinking. So he takes the Jeep to Delta Sonic and pays for a basic interior exterior cleaning. And they go at it, and he gets it back. And the whole roof of the Jeep was not covered, but it's splattered, splashes of mud over. Oh, it was all still there. the floorboard. It was a disaster. He, I don't know what he was thinking bringing it there, but it did not do it justice though.
So not only did you get the guy upset at you for not cutting the swamp and cutting the lawn, but then you tore the shit out of his property. And were you done after that? Was that the end of it, or did you?
He didn't even care. Honestly, He never even said anything. We cut it for the remainder of the year, and then we told him like we're done. He found someone cheaper, believe it or not. He found somebody cheaper than us 16-year-olds, which were probably charging him like $50, some ridiculously cheap price. So that went. But yeah, we kept landscaping for a while. I started kind of getting into a little bit of tree work, and then I realized that I had no idea what I was doing, and that ended because one day I was taking out this tree, and I had a rope, and it was not a climbing rope or anything. It was like a Harbor Freight rope, okay? And this tree's kind of close to this house, and we didn't put the rope high enough in the tree. The tree was leaning towards the house. It almost was a disaster. Thank God
you were almost one of those guys on like the YouTube or the Instagram reels that get 8 million views for smashing a house with a tree.
And my buddies were just watching, and I'm like, guys, like pull the rope. I'm yelling at them, pull. And they're like just watching this happen. Thank God there was a pine tree that kind of caught it, and we were able to pull it back, but oh my goodness, it was a disaster.
Could have gone much worse.
Yeah.
So were you working at such a young age because you just had the energy and the drive, or did your parents say get out and get a job if you want to have any extra spending money? Did they push you to get into it, or did you just want to go out and try these different businesses?
The original like landscape company, prior to all the craziness, I just kind of started that myself. Kind of just was looking for some side money. Honestly, me and my friends just kind of liked getting. We liked going downtown to Burger King because it was pretty close to our house, and getting like Five Guys and stuff like that. And well, the only way to have money for food was to work.
Yeah.
So did that, and then when I was 16, my dad was like, "All right, like you need a real job." So I called up a bunch of people. I actually almost got a job doing concrete for a tennis courts. For the tennis courts, it was like a company that made tennis courts. I almost got a job doing that. Glad I didn't, because that would have been really hard work. Not saying that what I did wasn't hard work. I ended up doing residential drain tile. So we were in backyards just digging, probably about 14 inches wide, maybe a little bit bigger depending on the yard, and then probably anywhere between 36 to 50 inches down, all by hand.
Really?
Yeah, and that was what I did. It was a Hispanic, Spanish-speaking only job. I was the only person who spoke English, and I was taking Spanish classes at the time. I almost got a certificate of bilingual on my high school diploma, but I was 1 point off. One point off.
No bueno.
Yeah. On the, I think it was the writing section I missed, because writing in Spanish is not easy, but you know how that is.
I was terrible in Spanish. I was not good at Spanish. It would have helped me later in life being in the construction and quarry business, but I was a very bad Spanish student. I didn't like the teacher. She was awful. So it just didn't work out. I failed Spanish.
Hey, that's all right.
Definitely failed it.
I think we've all had that one Spanish teacher that we still talk about. I've had that one. But yeah, like just really it was a complete different transition. I started, they really just pushed me right into the role. I started learning how to drive trucks, learning how to back trucks up with trailers, some stuff that I just had never done before. And it was really cool. It was a completely different culture. They were the nicest people I've ever met in my life. They would feed me every single day. I would bring some lunch. They would one person would bring tacos, one person would bring carne asada, someone would bring salsa, and we'd have like a Thanksgiving meal basically every day, and it was amazing. It was such good food.
They usually know how to eat and have good food for sure. It's always nice when they're on one of my jobs or something in the past and they have some leftovers.
Oh yeah,
good deal.
But yeah, that was that, and then started driving trucks a lot, and kind of started loving that a lot, and they had me driving CDL trucks, hauling dirt, stuff like that, and I was like 18 probably then. No CDL. I had a physical though. I did have a physical.
You only need it if you get caught. That's the only time you need it. So were you you had your landscaping business and you were working with these other guys. How did you work your way into the repair business? Were you always just tinkering with your own stuff? Did you get any sort of schooling or training for that, or did you just teach yourself?
So honestly, I got basically my transition out of the landscape company happened quite fast from that company, because I worked like 20 hours straight plowing snow, and I was in charge of all of Chicago. So I'd have to pick the truck up. I'd have to drive to the shop in Naperville, pick the truck up in Naperville, load it with all the salt, then drive to Chicago, pick the guys up from their house because they didn't have mode of transportation. And then from their house, then we'd drive to the first site. We'd start everything, and then I'd have to do everything else that we just talked about. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of getting fed up with it because I was on salary. There was no hourly pay here.
Getting paid for 8 hours and working 20.
Yeah, and then he'd say, well, you have the next day off. But then the next day would come, and he's like, oh, well, I just need you to clean out the truck. So all these people who were working with me, they were just shoveling. They were getting paid more than me, and I was the one plowing and everything, and I had all the responsibility. So I was kind of fed up with that. I told the guy, hey, I'm not coming in. I'm tired. I'm going to sleep. It was only 6 hours basically, or like 5 hours from the time I had gotten home, and he fired me.
Really?
Yeah, he fired me.
Wow.
So I left there, and I had no idea what I was going to do, because I thought I was going to be a landscaper my whole life. And
so you were, at this point, you were out of school. You had graduated.
So I was just graduating. At this point, I had already graduated high school. It was this was right when COVID hit, I believe.
Okay.
So this was 2020. And then my uncle took me in, thank God, and he taught me IT. I switched my major in college to IT, which was a bad decision because it was so much harder, because I knew nothing about IT. I was a landscaper. So I learned this IT. He took me in as an intern, taught me everything, which really is a huge reason why I'm successful today, is because I learned this IT side of the business, which I knew nothing about. Learned the IT side of the business, and I kind of started getting bored of it, honestly. I'm not a big computer guy, as you can imagine. I like working outside, like working with my hands. Huge into hiking, fishing, outdoors. So the IT wasn't really, I was too antsy, basically. I didn't want to wait.
It's hard to sit at a desk all day if it's not in your blood. It's a very tough thing to just sit. I get it. I'm the same way. Yeah.
So I left that, and I actually ended up getting a corporate job, believe it or not. I was a loan delinquency officer. So I was calling on CDF credits, trying to get them to pay their loans on commercial pieces of equipment.
Sounds annoying.
So I don't know why they hired me. I was not qualified. I lasted there for 3 months basically, and I kept telling my mom, I was like, Mom, like I can't do it, like I'm done. I got to find something new. But I didn't know what to do because I had just left my uncle's, which then I was thinking in my head, man, maybe I should have stayed at my uncle's place. Like maybe I made a mistake here, but I can't go back now because I made the decision. I gotta stick with the decision I made.
Sure.
And And it's family too, so it just gets even more complicated because he was helping me out, and then I quit, right? So then I want to go back. It doesn't look good.
Yeah.
So I'm like, my mom's like, no, you got to stick this out. You got to stick this out. So whatever, I keep doing it, and then I hear that this guy in my town is planning on retiring, and he has a lawnmower snowblower repair company. And I think to myself, well, no, it wasn't actually that he was retiring. He was just, I think I heard a rumor that he was retiring, but then I called like his company line, and it said that he was closed for like 6 months because his wife had surgery. So I was thinking to myself, all right, well, this guy's going to be closed for 6 months. Maybe I can just start doing this, get some business. So I just said, you know what, send it. Turns out the guy ended up retiring, and he closed his business midsummer last year. And it's been a lot, it's been really busy since then.
So you took over that business from him?
No.
No.
I started my own business similar to him, just
Gotcha.
based on the knowledge that I had at the time.
But there was a gap in the market, so you knew you could kind of step in and take his work.
Exactly. So I just kind of found a little niche that was opening up. I thought that I knew how to fix these things because I worked, with them for years. I had no clue how to fix them. No idea. My first job I went to was a guy I'll never even forget. I did a job for his son not too long ago, and I saw his face, and it was like, wow, like you were my first client. And I never told him that. He doesn't know, but next time I see him, I'll let him know that. But it's just like, it was such a blast from the past. I go to this guy's house. He's got a snowblower, won't start, ran last year. So now that's a pretty easy job because it was running. It just, probably bad gas, got to clean it out a little. I had no idea what I was doing. I pulled up. I had a step van, like an Amazon bread truck, put his machine up in the back, pulled up YouTube, typed in what model he had, how do I fix this? I started watching YouTube videos, and I got it going. Thank God. I don't know, by the grace of God, really. I got it going, and that was the first job, and that was the start to what I have now.
And now you know what you're doing, or know more of what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. In the past, it's been 2 years now, and I've gained a mentor out in Westmont who has the same exact business I have. Westmont is just about 30 minutes away, and the highway kind of separates us. So he has his own clients. I have my own clients. We're not in direct competition at all, which is great because we refer people. We're close enough where we can refer people back and forth, but far enough where he's not like worried about me taking his business, and I would never do such a thing either because I have so much respect for him.
Cool. That's great. So you've admitted in a couple of the things that you did early on, you really didn't know what you were doing, but you went for it and you tried it anyways. That's what it's all about, man. You gotta fail. You gotta fail while you're getting going and learning. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still young. This is something that took me a long time to learn, was that there's only so much I really know. Like, you have a lot more life experience than I do. There's a lot I can learn from people like you who have done these things, and really just like, if I see something that I think is a good idea, I go for it. I try it. I try as hard as I can, and I always go all in though. That's the thing with me, is that like, if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna half-ass it. When I started the small engine repair company, I passed out 30,000 flyers after I knew what I was doing, or during the course of figuring out what I was doing.
Right.
Not that I know what I'm doing now. I'm still figuring out some things, but I've passed out 30,000 flyers direct to homes. That took a lot of time, but it has a statistical conversion.
You mailed 30,000 flyers, or you walked and drove around and passed out 30,000 flyers?
So for the first 10,000, I passed the first 10,000 out with a skateboard.
Wow. That is awesome.
Yeah. And a lot of it I did in hilly sections of the town, which was good and bad.
Fun going down.
Yeah, good workout, real good workout. And then after the first 10,000, I started getting some more money from those conversions. And then I said, all right, I'm going to buy an electric skateboard. So then I bought an electric skateboard, and it changed my business. I went from being able to pass out, a couple hundred flyers in it. I'd go out for like 8 hours. Like I'd go out like it was a work day and just pass them out. But with the electric skateboard, I can do 250 in an hour, which basically almost guarantees me a job. Yeah. I factor about 250 to 1 for leads to conversions, and it's seen to be pretty accurate, especially over the long time, because the immediate conversion might not be 250 to 1 or 1 to 250. But someone might try and start up their snowblower and it doesn't work, and they say, "Hey, I got your flyer back in April. Can you stop out and look at this?"
Sure. I give you credit, man. You are a hustler. That is impressive. You're not going to find a lot of young people out there, going to find a job, let alone, skateboarding around to hand out 30,000 flyers. That's pretty cool. I give you a lot of credit.
Thank you.
I give you a lot of credit. So what's your vision for the mobile repair? Do you want to stay a small, like one-man show? Do you want to expand? Is this something to get you by into your next thing? What's your vision for that?
I'm going to continue to expand the mobile repair company until I see a good exit opportunity. But until then, I plan to just keep expanding it. It's growing at an alarming rate. And I would be silly to sell it for less than what it's valued, and I would also be silly to let it go prior to it fully maturing, I think.
Sure.
Because I could let go on a lot of that upside that I'm able to get, and that's a very hard question, honestly.
Yeah.
It's been in my brain a lot lately.
Well, you'll know, another season, you'll kind of know, like, hey, I want to keep rolling with this. I want to build. I want to bring on, maybe another mechanic to take on some of the workload, or you have the option to exit. Yeah. So time will tell. But you're young. You got a lot of time in front of you. Is there anything else so you have the mobile repair and you have the marketing business? Are you involved in any other businesses at this time? Those two?
No, just those two. They take up more than all my time.
Sure.
And then I got the podcast, but really my podcast is a hobby at best.
Yeah.
I enjoy connecting with people and talking to people, and I try not to put too much time into it, I guess, because it gets really intense. And I've hired like a video editor and so forth, but even then it's just trying to find good help.
Sure. They're time consuming with doing the episode and then the production. You definitely you get a couple hours involved to put out a 30-minute or 45-minute podcast for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's got its own challenges and so forth, but I really enjoy podcasting. It's nice being able to meet new people, really.
Sure.
Because I find myself so much like alone because I'm alone in my office working, or I'm alone in the trailer fixing lawnmowers, and really just being able to see somebody face to face, chat with people. It's always nice.
Yeah, good deal. And how did you come? So your podcast is The Billion Bet. Is that what it's called? Mm-hmm. How did you come up with that name?
Really, just there's a lot of effort needed to do anything, and repetition is key. If you do something 1 billion times, eventually you're going to get good at it. With that being said, though, you should. My coach always used to say, I did water polo in high school, and he would always say, perfect practice makes perfect. So if you're going to do something, you might as well do it, perfectly, so then your results are perfect. But just like consistency is what the Billion Bet is about. It's about not giving up. It's about keep going when times get hard. Of course, you might slip up here or there. Everybody does. but accepting that and then moving forward.
Yeah, that's great. I like it. And do you have, so you have the two businesses now. Do you have aspirations or ideas or visions for the future? Is there anything that you want to be working towards? Do you have goals or something else that you hope to get into someday, or you don't quite have that fleshed out just yet?
Yeah, I really am looking to get into the marketing space. I love marketing. I love sales. Sales is my passion. So with my marketing company, I have it structured so I'm really only doing the sales and, of course, the accounting and all of that other stuff, the back end.
Right.
But other than like the accounting and the sales, I want everything else really to be handled by my subsidiaries. And then from there, I want to take it from small engine marketing to service marketing. So I could do plumbers. I could do people who fix appliances, because it's all very similar, mechanics, like car mechanics. And then eventually transition into marketing for guides if I can. Because my passion is the outdoors, so if I could do some sort of outdoors marketing, I think that's where I would be most happy. But it's a pretty small market, honestly, so you'd probably have to have it supplemented by some other things. But
Yeah.
that's really where my passion lies, is in the outdoors.
Cool. So you've, at your age, you've had some success, you've had some failures. You're not afraid to admit that you goofed up here and there. A lot of our listeners are younger people, the next generation coming up. What advice would you have for anybody that's thinking about trying to be an entrepreneur, thinking about starting their own business? Do you have any advice for somebody that would be in your shoes?
Yeah, definitely. My biggest advice, I tell this to a lot of my friends, is to just start. To start, because they talk about it all the time, and sometimes I get frustrated with them, and I hurt their feelings a little bit, and I tell them, look, dude, you don't have to tell me what you're going to do. Just show me, do it. And sometimes you need someone to kind of kick you where it hurts a little bit, so you get moving, just like how my father did with me. He told me, hey, like, get a job, get to work. And then whenever I try and start a new venture, he always tells me, like, make sure you're doing something that's steady, really, because being consistent and just getting at it is the best thing you can do. Also, being able to make decisions quickly. For me, I try to make decisions fast, and I use a lot of different resources so I'm able to do that. It's not me making the decision always. It's my peers, my mentors, people that I'm weighing all of their. I already have. When someone says something to you, you know what your immediate answer is usually. So once I already know what my immediate response is, I then go to other people in the room who I know are going to have a different response, because I know how they are. And I'm going to ask them, hey, just to see what they're going to say, because they're going to say something that I probably never even thought of or considered. And then that's helped me so much, because then being able to take all of these resources and knowledge, you can then say, all right, this is the right decision I'm going to make, and I'm going to pull the trigger. And being able to pull the trigger on a task, it might take someone a month, and if you're able to do it in a week, you're already onto the second task, and they're still on the first. And then the second task, it exponentially expands. And the hardest part with that is letting go, for me, is being able to let go and trust that the process is going to work. Because in the past, it didn't always work. There was always those ups and downs, and man, like, how am I going to pay my bills, or how am I going to do this, or how is my dad going to look at me? What are they going to think of me if I fail? Like, I'm going to be looked at like I'm a failure, right? And I don't want to be looked at like a failure, so I'm going to succeed. It's going to work. It will work, one way or another. And just the perseverance over anything, never quitting, and just using these other people and taking their knowledge, because you don't know everything and you don't have it all figured out, and that's okay. But just working with what you got and implementing a team as fast as possible.
That's good advice. I mean, a lot of people, even myself, when I started out, I was gun shy. I was scared. I didn't know, I was, who was I to be in business? You have a lot of self-doubt, and you have to kind of just like push through that and just get started. You're not afraid to admit some of the failures that you've had or some of the mistakes that you made. I'm not afraid to either. One of my kind of funny stories looking back now is I had a construction company, but we were kind of we weren't like really busy. This is like 2003, 2004. We were also doing some work consistently with another home builder in the area. We were helping them frame houses. Okay. I was doing their roofing, so I wasn't like fully like I had my own company, but I wasn't bringing in all of my own work. Well, I had this idea to start an eBay business where you might even be too young to even know what those were, but where you could actually set up a shop and people would bring their stuff to you and sell it on eBay. So eBay was hot, like the 2000, 2004 time frame. So I had this bright idea to start an eBay business. And I only did it because I saw other people doing it. I saw success stories, different articles, books or magazines or whatever, like other people having success doing this across the country. And I kind of just latched onto it. I was like, well, there's not one here in our area. I'm going to do it, and it's going to be awesome, and it's going to be great. So I really kind of like stepped out of my wheelhouse. I had been in construction since I was 16 years old, and I decided to start this eBay business, and it didn't go very well. It lasted. I spent many months remodeling this commercial space that I leased, storefront right on a main road here in Clark Summit. It was called Easy Drop. We opened up, and I don't know that it lasted 9 months, and I had to give it up. I hired somebody to work there because I had to go work the construction to pay the bills to fund the new venture. And what it came down to was like people were walking in with like, I don't know, some random item, like a shirt, that they wanted to get $10 for, or like I had somebody bring a car door from like an old Honda, a Honda car. So what it came down to was we weren't set up for it. We couldn't process the stuff fast enough and then make any sort of profit off the commission. Like a lot of the items were between like $50 and $100 that they sold for. Well, by the time you do the work, put all the effort into listing it, and then you take the commission, we were making nothing. And after, I think it was about 8-9 months, I was like, this was not a good idea. There's no money in this for me. It's just not working. So that was kind of the last time I stepped out of my wheelhouse. And, I had other businesses, over the years, but I never did anything like that. That was like completely out of my territory. I saw other people doing it. It was appealing. I thought, this will go great. Other people are making a lot of money doing this. It didn't work for me. It only cost me a lot of money. But that was a lesson. And I felt like a failure. I felt like, I didn't like having to take the sign down, close. I hated the fact that, everybody driving up that road was like, oh, what the hell? They just opened and they're closed already. Like, didn't know what he's doing. Like, that sucks, thinking like you're a failure. But tried, it didn't work, and moved on. And here I am, many years later with other businesses that were successful and did very well. You don't know unless you're going to try. If you're too afraid to try, you'll never get anywhere, So I think your advice is great. Just get started. Just do it. You're not going to win them all. It's not going to happen.
No, and I originally kind of partially funded this business with some option trading, with like the stock market, and that's a perfect example of not winning them all.
Me and the stock market don't get along.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that now having my own business, I don't really even look at the stock market because, well, you could get 10% if you're lucky over there, or maybe 7 or 0 or negative, right? But with my business, I always get a return, guaranteed. Sure. I never lose.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I've dabbled in the stock market a little bit. Have no idea what I'm doing. I've taken some very bad advice from my brother. I'm calling him out right now. He's given me some real shitty advice in the past. But I'm better off. I've done well with real estate investments, business investments. Real estate has been very good to me. Stock market, it's just too much of a gamble. At least if I took, let's say I was going to put 10 grand in the stock market, take that 10 grand and buy a small piece of equipment or invest it into, it's part of an investment in a piece of real estate. That's where I've done well. There's people that do great at the stock market, but I am not one of those people, and it's just not for me, and I don't think I'll be messing with it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, even with 10 grand, like, you could get to a lot of trade shows. A lot of people can see Triaxle, see your product.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, you could, 10 grand, you could buy a small, like, be hard to buy a decent skid steer for 10 grand these days, but 15 years ago, you could buy a skid steer for 10 grand, and you buy that, you could turn that 10 grand into 30 in a month,
Yeah.
But having that sit in the stock market, it might take you years to get that back if you don't lose it, So
yeah, if ever.
if ever.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Definitely.
So any other big plans, any visions for the future besides we're rolling into the marketing? You're just going to kind of take it as it comes and see where you land?
The marketing is a hard push. I have 3 people under me working on that project now. I'm looking to get about 2 or 3 more pretty shortly, as I can, of course, right? But that is going to be a hard push. It's really, that's what the future's looking like over here.
Yeah, awesome. Good.
Yeah.
Well, good deal, man. Well, you're a hungry young man. You're a motivated dude, and you're not afraid to try anything once. So that's awesome, and I'm confident that you will be very successful and you will succeed. And it's trial and error, man. You're young, and now's the time to do it. So I would say just keep giving it a shot, and something great is going to land for you someday for sure.
Hey.
For anybody that might be listening in your area, how do they get a hold of your repair business?
So you can give me a call at 630-730-4835. Get in contact with me directly. If anybody has any questions, feel free. Just don't call me at night. I'm not going to answer. Or you could go to my website, www.arrowtuneups.com, or check me out on Instagram at anthony.parrilli, P as in Peter, Arrilli.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I really dislike those late night phone calls. If somebody calls me at 10 o'clock at night, I call them back at 4 in the morning. We can't play that game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I get that all the time. They call you at like 8 o'clock at night, and then you try and schedule them for, you're like, yeah, well, I could be there at 7 a.m. or 6:30, and they're like, oh, no appointments before 9.
Yeah. Oh, I'm bothering you at a certain time? I'm sorry.
Oh, I've had some of those where you get there and they forget that you're coming, and they're still sleeping.
Yep. Gotta love it.
Frustrating, to say the least.
That's dealing with people. You'll have that.
That's what my mom always says. I don't have a lot of patience, and it's something I need to work on. I acknowledge it, but when someone's not answering their door and I'm there to fix their equipment, and there's 10 people behind them on the list, I get a little frustrated.
Time is money, man. Time is money.
Yeah.
You could have gone to somebody else first that you could have taken care of,
Yep.
So, Hey, man, I appreciate you jumping on. Great chatting with you, and I wish you best of luck. I know you're going to pull something off big. Just keep on grinding.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate you having me on the podcast today. Thank you.
Yes, sir. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.